right, so we're getting ready to get started on our sexuality program. And by now, y'all know I'm Bria. Pronouns are she, her, that bitch. If you don't know, now you know. So right now, we are exploring sex exuberantly and damn sure unapologetically. And if there's any time to be exuberant, open, real, and honest about sex, it's right here. And I just wish a big, fat orgasm for every laugh, whether it's with a partner or by your goddamn self. Make it happen. If that's your thing. If you're ace, I'm with you in solidarity. Okay, so it's time to get real about sex. Having informed conversations, dismantling shame and stigma, and pursuing enjoyable experiences, including the unconventional kind, which is the best kind to me. So how do we overcome societal factors and respectability politics, become more liberated, establish healthier boundaries, and have better sex lives? So we have three phenomenal women on this panel who's going to keep it real, share a little about themselves, or maybe share a lot. But let me tell you something. Why this is so important. I work for a woman who is in her 70s, and she has never had good sex. Never. And I looked at her and I said, how in the fuck, she's 70. I said, how in the fuck is that possible? Because she was raised down south, very fucking oppressed. Husband was born on a farm, and this is what his dad told him, his son. All women look alike down there. You can put a fucking paper bag over them, over their face, and handle your business. She's been maritally raped, never had an orgasm, and never experienced intimacy. And I had tears in my eyes, and I just held her hand, and I'm saying, girl, you done missed out on a lot of shit. And I can't imagine that. So that's why this panel is so of such importance, because if you haven't experienced intimacy, an orgasm, or just that wave of pure, unadulterated emotion, I'm hoping today we can affect change. I hope. If you open yourself up, if you make yourself vulnerable, because sex is good and it's beautiful. If you by yourself or with the right person. Well, hell, even if you ain't with the right person, it can still be good. I learned that. So sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. So hold on, hey. Our first panelist is Foxy Jazzabelle. Her pronouns are she, her, hers. She's a media and cultural critic who serves up cheeky yet thoughtful commentary, advice, and more on her blog, Foxy Jazzabelle. She has provided keen treaties and reviews for outlets like Sci-Fi, The Nerds of Color, and Blurred Galaxy magazine. Foxy also advocates for sex positivity and liberation for Black and non-Black marginalized groups from white, not supremacist, white dominant capitalist patriarchy and its ideology. Nadia taught us that they're not supreme, so we're to stay white dominants. They're not white supremacists. Yes, ma'am. I paid attention, Nadia. Our next speaker is going to give us a little background on herself. So next up is Ecclesia, AKA Clay Wesley. I believe my bio was super outdated, so I was like, let me take the time to
tell y'all facts of what I'm doing currently. I'm currently working in my community with Women's Leadership Project. Also working with nonprofits to help bring services to youth in South LA. I'm also into public speaking. I do networking and events for communities. I am very sex positive. I'll get into it, but I'm part of I call it a sex cult. We'll get into that later. And yeah, I'm very positive and I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, we're going to exchange information on that sex cult. Yeah, later on. Next up is Charone Pagett, and her pronoun. Your pronouns are she, her, hers. She, her, hers. And Charone Pagett, pronouns are she, her, hers. Has been a producer and host of various radio programs on WRFG 89.3 FM in Atlanta for the past 23 years, including the Lambda Radio Report and the Fifth Tuesday series, the only atheist-centered program on Atlanta area radio. For the past 25 years, Charone has been a strong activist for social justice in many areas, including atheism, disability, LGBTQ rights, feminism, anti-poverty, and sex positivity. All right, y'all, let's get this party started. So question number 1, why is sexual desire and fulfillment just as important as reproductive rights and social justice work? Anybody want to start? Otherwise, I'll pick you. Okay.
Oh, did you want to? No, you can. Thank you. Well, sex is just like any other thing. Like it's, you know, everyone keeps saying it's natural, but it is. It's a part of the human condition that's just as necessary as food, clothing, shelter, close communications with family, friends. And as we can see with everything else that's being taken away from us in the country, it seems like nowadays there's the morality movement, pretty much the temperance movement against sex has been started up as well. And being that it's a necessary component in the human experience, it's just as important that we fight for our rights to not only have the type of sex that we want to have, but the right to experience pleasure from it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like this question because of the fact that, sex is a human right. The right to have sex in the way that that you need, that you want, is a basic human right. And then there's the element, like what was already said, that at the heart of like Roe v. Wade, the shutting down of that, is the fact that they want to control women's bodies, women's sexuality. You know, they don't want women to decide. It's one of the biggest threats to, het men, is for a woman to say, no, I need you to do this way. Or I don't feel like messing with you tonight. I'm going to go do this. Or let's have this type of relationship. Let's do non-monogamy. Or I need a bigger dick than what you have. And that scares the shit out of them. That really does, because of the fact that, for years we've had women, and I'm going to stop because I'll go in it. But for years we've had the dialogue that women are accommodating. Like, oh, it doesn't matter what size. Their vaginas just kind of shrink to this, which is patronizing, which is full of shit. And it says that women are accept anything. Don't question men and all of that. So it is very important, because there's a level of oppression that women experience as it relates to sex.
Yeah. To touch on that a little, I also think about the history of women of color and their sexualness, right? Being unrapeable, being, you said paper bag, just, the idea that Black women and brown women are hypersexualized, right? So you don't need to have a say, so just take it and do what I say, right? So when we think of historically as women of color, like there has not been a lot of, I'd say, ownership and autonomy over our bodies, right? To say, hey, that dick ain't big enough, or hey, I don't want to do that with you, or hey, or the idea of even marriage where you had to get married off by your father, right? You had no say so. You'd be like, I don't even want to marry this man, but you had to do it anyway because it was part of a bigger thing that you had no control over. So it makes me think now that women are trying to push back against the narrative of just accepting, right? So it's male, all the videos, it's in the eyes of not even for LGBTQI, QRS, it's not a field where it's open enough for people to also enjoy and like sex, right? It's just sex, do it, that's it. So a lot of times it makes me think now that's why there's so much pushback and so much confusion, and it feels like it's like a fight because it's like it has been this way for so long of just accept it and take it, and the Jazzabelle, and thinking that, hey, you're part of you're a pawn in a plan, and just accept that. You have no say, or you have no idea. You don't know what you like. You're just going to accept what we give you. So definitely pushing back against that narrative, because you should have say so and ownership over what you like. And I've had someone even tell me like, oh, you should be with a Black man, or you shouldn't date outside your race. You shouldn't like explore. And it's like, why wouldn't we? Why are we not able to?
Gotta preach. That would preach. That was good. So you done segued us right into question number 2, which is, how can we overcome stigma, shame, and policing of sexual liberation and alternative practices?
I'll keep sending.
Can you read that again? Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you went right into it. The question again is, how can we overcome stigma, shame, and policing of sexual liberation and alternative practices?
I'll set it up. Y'all knock them down.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay. So how can the best way to combat this? I think it was spoken on yesterday during the presentation on Christian nationalism, and how the young lady stressed the importance of education to combat white dominance, and in this country. That's pretty much, that pretty much goes the same when it comes to combating stigma and prejudices when it comes to sex and sexuality. The ultimate thing that everyone on the individual level and on a societal, cultural, and institutional level, the immediate thing that we must do is we must unlearn patriarchal ideology, aka sexism and sexist thinking, as Bell Hooks put it, the late Bell Hooks put it, because that's basically what it comes down to. We can do our best to come up with reforms to how things are, but unless we make a concerted and diligent effort to combat the ideology that fuels all of this, we're just gonna continue to go in circles, and it's hard because the ideology is part of the social contract that we're all brought up into. We all know culture is king. Nobody escapes it unless you're lucky enough to be brought up in a family of revolutionaries, essentially. And even then, sometimes there are certain things that even they didn't have the chance to unlearn, because there's so much unlearning to do. Just like we make the effort to unlearn anti-Blackness. We have to make the effort to unlearn classism. And we also definitely have to make the effort to unlearn sexism and sexist thinking. Because once you start on that road, baby, a whole door opens up for you. And so many things that were weighing you down, you start to feel so light. You don't have to, you no longer feel concerned that, oh, well, what those chicks are doing over there is going to make the rest of us look bad. No, because it's based on a nonsensical idea in the first place that was only put in place to maintain hierarchies and maintain control, to police and, to police other people's sexual and reproductive behavior. Once you understand that the game is rigged, essentially, and once you understand that the rules are bullshit and that there are no exceptions to the rules because the rules are bullshit, everything else sort of falls into motion and you find yourself much more open to things, and you pretty much put yourself on that road to liberation. And okay. And sorry about that. And it feels good, but it's diligent. You have to remain diligent. Sorry, I can go all day on.
I know, that's why I got
the liberation part.
Yes.
huge deal.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
It was meaty. It was real meaty. Yeah. Okay. Again, how can we overcome stigma, shame, and policing of sexual liberation and alternative practices?
I'll dive in real quick. I'll make this short and sweet. When I think of policing now, actively in 2022, it's the policing of young Black and brown women in schools, which we work with ideally, literally. And, I think even myself, I used to tell my boss, Miss Q back there, I've always had these boobs. At like 13, I was coming out the gate, right? There was always a sense of, okay, we'll cover up. Don't be too loud. Don't be too thick. Don't be seen. And I think that it's an internalized thing sometimes for women of color who are just shapely naturally. It's like, well, damn, why am I so hard on myself because I'm shapely and I got to cover up because I don't want male gaze. I don't want anybody looking or touching or doing. And it's like, that's already self-policing. Yeah. Before I can even let anybody police me, I'm self-policing myself. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday thinking about the old times where, mom tell you, hey, don't run around with those shorts on. You got to put them shorts on. I got a man coming over. I got somebody, your uncle coming over. And it's like, well, what the hell I got to do with me putting on my shorts? I'm enjoying myself, minding my own damn business. And I got to worry about your gaze. How about, and so, yes, education, right? Hypersexualization of Black bodies. It's like, we're already policing ourselves. I should feel comfortable, period, right? So when we think about education to our peers, to our young people, to educate them on, hey, how do you carry yourself when you're in a situation, or what are ways that you can maybe work a situation that doesn't feel comfortable, or that you don't want to be policed, but you're automatically internalizing the policing of yourself. So I say education at a young age, starting with education with resources. We educate our young people intimate partner violence. It all kind of starts there because it's all segued, right? When our young women are getting policed in school and they're getting dragged out of class because they showing a little tit or a little leg, and it's like, well, what does that have to do with their education? They're there to learn, right? So when we think about these things naturally already occurring, it's really challenging that and pushing that out and re-educating. And like we said, we have to change the narrative by putting out the education and offering more support to young people and older people who are dealing with these stigmas.
Keep it there. Yeah, make it easier.
Masturbation.
Ooh.
Why I say that is this, excuse me, this goes right to the fundamental individual. That is your first radical sexual act. And unfortunately, what happens is the shame follows immediately. That young child hand is slapped. Oh, don't do that. This whole thing. The culture, it's a shame that we live in an anti-masturbation society. What kind of crazy shit is that? You know, so, and the thing about masturbation is this is how you actually learn what works for you. It's also the way in which you learn your body. And it's the thing. It is natural. It's just, it trips me out. And I do a lot of like kink workshops.
Can you repeat that? You do a lot of what?
I do a lot of kink
I know what
workshops.
I want to film it here.
And I tell you, it is, you know, people think that, you know, kink is, it's hard for women to claim their freakiness. And so, but that starts right at the beginning. I mean, I hear men all the time. Men have the freedom to masturbate,
Circle jerks.
to yank their own damn chain. You know, so I just think that is the primary way in which we start to get religion out of masturbation. God damn it, you know, and get religion out of fucking period. So you know. And when we start there,
Solomon in the Bible, the book of Solomon is nasty as fuck.
Yeah.
So when I was a
yes.
Christian, I couldn't read that because of masturbation. I'm like, I can't. He talking about donkey balls as big as
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a freaky book.
Sermons.
Yeah.
when I was a kid
Yeah.
with the song of
You can't,
with the song
because
of
they'll
Solomon.
backslide all the way to the pit of hell if they went
Yeah.
through the book of
Because
Solomon.
when I discovered
Right.
it in the Skeptics annotated Bible, I was like,
God damn.
But it
I'm
does
sorry, go
go
ahead.
back to that control. You know, people who feel a little uneasy themselves about sex, especially men who feel unsure about their sex and if their performance or anything like that. And they place that shit on women. And I will say that it happens in queer space too. People place their uncertainties on their partners or their whoever they're screwing or anything like that. And it's like, you know, I know it's easy to say just let that go, but then you have to constantly check yourself and then be okay with yourself, forgive yourself if you like something. You know, if you want some woman to lay you over her lap and beat your ass, you know, that's you. That's your thing. Get consent.
Absolutely.
But, you know, take the initiative, make yourself, do your self-care always. But, you know, don't let the shame eat you up because it's going to come out. It's going to come out, whatever your thing is, because we are human and whatever that thing is going to come out, but you want it to come out safely where you can get the most maximal enjoyment. So, and by the way, I'm Miss Hydro Fat.
I wanted to interject is how can we overcome the stigmas? Talk about it. Our communities, the Black and Brown communities, one thing I highly respect about the white dominant community, you guys have so far surpassed us sexually. And you guys are, when I came up with, oh, they so freaky. But now our community we're just now getting to a point where we could talk about oral sex without feeling shame. Because you can only talk about that with your true blue best friend. Now they post about it on Facebook. I eat ass, I do this. And I'm like, God damn. Remember that shit, like you would die with that secret.
Yeah.
And I got into the kink community. And one thing about being a big Black woman, white men love you. Like I go to Kroger's and white men go, can I just say something? I go, here we go. You are so beautiful. Okay. And what happened is that I was a dom and I had slaves. And my son, his nosy ass, walked in the goddamn room and I'm online and and So I had to have this dialogue with my kid about what the hell was going on. So down the line, I'm taking him to task about something, and I'd be damned if he didn't say, I ain't one of your slaves. You're not going to talk to me like that. And another time, and he's my youngest, so you know the young ones have no filter. And he approached me about when they see you living your truth, your sexual truth, your ethical truth, whatever, they are very comfortable approaching you. And I've told this story so many times, but my kid at mom, him and my grandkid's mom, have you ever had a threesome?
Honey, sit down.
He knows when I'm on some bullshit. He'll call it out. And I said, why? And he said, because they were considering it. And I said, yeah, a couple of times. But there comes a maturity and communication, which y'all don't have. Like y'all tripping over DM. You guys are too fragile. Well, the point is, because I'm not being a hypocrite, my kids are able to talk to me. My daughter is able to tell me, Mom, I met this guy, and okay, and Mom, we had sex, we did this. I said, let me tell you, girl, I don't care if you ride 1 dick, 2 dicks, 6 dicks in a row. As long as you are happy with that woman that you see in that goddamn mirror, I have no expectations. I want a happy sexual health for my kids and my grandkids and for everybody in here. Like, it's hard, but it's not hard. Once you stop giving a fuck about motherfuckers that ain't paying your goddamn bills.
Exactly.
When you can say you ain't fucking feeding nor financing me simultaneously, you will unearth a freedom that you and I bought a vibrator, baby, me and that thing was in this goddamn relationship. Everybody, okay? As long as me and the rabbit are together, I don't need a motherfucker. Now they talking about this rose. I'm scared I'm gonna have a heart attack on that motherfucker. I won't even. I am watch the videos. I'm scared I'm gonna die.
I am not ashamed to admit that I have called my toy, Mr. and Mrs. Hitachi at that point.
That Hitachi, I had nerve-ending pulses in places I didn't even know.
Oh yeah.
You sound like Mariah Carey with a Hitachi.
Yeah, during the high note bottle challenge.
Discretion is advised with the Hitachi wand.
Yeah, you truly ain't gonna know what a clitoris is.
Y'all on fire. Y'all on fire.
I mean, this is be free. This is where you can be free up in here.
I love it. So it made me think as you guys are talking right here, and it made me think back to a conversation about being educated as Black and brown young people to even explore your body and to be okay with sex and to not be shamed, right? Because shame kind of diverts us from our true selves. We can't get to what is that saying? You never know what you're truly like until you've tried everything. And if you haven't got to explore, you haven't seen outside of just your realm, how do you know what you like? Mm-hmm. I used to tell my friend all the time, she's like, well, I'll never do that. I'll never do that. I'll never do that. And now she's doing it. Because it depends on that person, right? I don't know if you guys know, like Jeannie Mae, she's on the talk show. I think she was with her ex-partner, and she was with her ex. She didn't want no kids. Kids was out of the question. Out of the question. She got with a new partner.
Jeezy, yeah, baby.
He fine.
Yeah.
Got with Jeezy. What? You got support. And you got openness, and you got to be able to be your true self. Yep. So sometimes when you're being supported and you're feeling sexually liberated and you're able to get the education, the support, and no shame, you may be able to see parts of yourself that you've never gotten to see, right? Even with masturbation, a lot of times it's so much shame, even as a young, just to have the idea of even having a period. You gotta hide your tampon. Can't nobody see. We hide in the dark. Like, damn. And it's a natural occurring thing. Yeah. So why is there it's so much shame associated with all that? So yeah.
I'm sorry, just a small one. Okay. I swear. in regards to the shame, in my experience, definitely one of the very first experience I've had was with masturbation, which is why I am also a big advocate of it, because I tend to be a big advocate of anything that is good for the self-improvement, self-awareness, self-love, self-validation. I'm for that. And you do learn what you like, and you do start to tackle shame. And just like Clay said, again, growing up in a society that tells you, oh, doing this is shameful, doing that, having sex in all these other ways except for this one way, for this one compulsory reason is bad, it's nasty, it's dirty, you'll get pregnant and die, or something. You know what I mean? And I used to be one of those girls, like, yeah, maybe I'll do this, but I'll never suck dick because all y'all talk about is, it's always suck my dick, suck my dick, suck my dick. Always used so derogative as a derogative towards women. It's such an easy go-to, and filling us with shame. Meanwhile, that's one of the things that most cishet men want the most, but want to make people feel ashamed about giving to them. That's why, again, I was talking to some friends before.
Hold on.
Sorry.
We're going to wrap this up now.
Sorry about that. Okay. Small. Basically, never be afraid to question where your shame comes from and deconstructing it, because you never know. It'll take you on that path.
That's good.
There you go.
That's good. That was good one. You did that good. Okay. And our final question is, how can we become more open to activities that might be considered non-traditional or even taboo?
Let's get into it real quick, okay? So I told y'all earlier I'm part of this sex code. Hopefully I'm not shaming nobody here because it's funny to me, right? So let's explain it. Sex code. There is a group, an online community. I don't know if y'all heard of FetLife or other things.
I'm on there.
Okay, I'm on there too. But through that and through exploration, right, of being, because it started off with shame, like, let me not do this, or let me not be promiscuous, I'm so worried about what others are thinking of me, or how I look to other people, or how I don't want nobody walking in my room seeing me doing nothing, right? So it's a lot automatically shame, right? This community of people, which has literally been my kind of like exploration, it's like swingers. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, people who kind of go, it's like sex parties, but okay, cool. All right, cool. Now, again, not always having to engage, but sometimes just being in these spaces. I'm a voyeur. I like to watch. And for me, sometimes watching is education. So sometimes it's not even about being in these spaces and being sexual, but more so being there and just absorbing what is going on around me, because it is so different. It is so taboo. It is not your everyday late night, right? It's a totally different community of people. So from that, right, back to the question, bring it back. It's so important to allow yourself to explore and to try different things and to be open, right? Because sometimes when I think about this box that we kind of contain ourselves in, you will never, ever. And the idea you said somebody wasn't able to ever come, right? When we think even about women and pleasure, that's a reality for a lot of women. It's a lot of women and others that are with people that aren't getting the full sexual pleasure they need. And some people don't even, do y'all even know that women could orgasm like 2 or 3 different ways? You won't even orgasm the same. Some people don't even know that. You got clitoral orgasm, you got the internal, you feel me? And it feels different, right? Some women haven't even got to, you don't even know which one, right? Because not like that. I mean, pray for you, but hope for you. Not ain't no praying. Praying ain't gonna do shit, but we gonna hope. We gonna hope that you find what you.
We enable shenanigans.
We gonna hope that you are able to have access to just exploring, because that's, I feel like, where it starts, is being able to explore without shame and without feeling shameful to explore.
So I ID as a woman dominant, and I don't like the term femdom. I've been sort of looking at that. I'm a lifestyle dominant, and one of the things that I love about the kink community is, and it may be a surprise to folks that don't really know, is that kink is probably 75 to 85% education. It's like we hold munches. They're always nice at the dungeon that are education based. And part of the reason why that is because, let's face it, some of the shit that people do is considered illegal. And so, and it will impact the whole community if somebody goes and do something and they don't know what the hell they're doing. So its education is extremely important. But the other piece, this little thing I had on, which I should have really torn it off a long time ago. I just came from a conference, a Master Slave conference, and I go every year. I love it. And it is all, they don't have a dungeon at that one. And it's about all of this relationship stuff and all of this, like how to do your craft, and it is a wonderful place that you could go and learn. I mean, kink is taboo, but people look at it like this. They close their eyes and peek through it. And so it's like, it really is inviting because you can get hurt in a not nice way if you just practice, do this without any kind of training. So I think that rather it's a really good place. Go to a munch or even read about it. Fat Life has some amazing reading stuff, reading stuff, but it has some amazing articles. And a lot of us who practice, especially a lot of us who teach classes, always say that, hey, if you have any questions, again, I am Ms. Hydra, MC Hydra, on that you can ask me questions, because I think that it is important to get over those taboos, and the only way you can do that is a certain amount of asserting yourself. Now, I will say real quick that being a femdom, I tell you, men do not want to think, oh my gosh. Oh, so anyway, they are, the thing about it is for women, for me, I'll say for me, I'm like, how can you make my life better? How can you free up my damn time so I can do what I need to do? And in turn, trusting me to make your life better as my submissive or as my slave, trusting me that I will make your life better, because if I don't make your life better, my life is not going to be any better. And frankly, I do not want to wash another fucking dish. Right. So it's just like, do the dishes, do this. And a lot of men, and I know in the conversation, okay. Yeah. But real quick, the whole me rocky thing, that's real big in male submissive. Yeah.
I'll pick it up because it's real quick. I just also want to interject, in the kink environment, that's the first time I ever knew that consenting sex was important.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Never knew, had no idea. And you literally sign contracts.
Yep.
So there is an understanding what the expectations are, what the hard line is. I never knew it was a thing. So and see 50 Shades of Grey, people, the vanilla community see the 50 Shades of Grey and think like, ugh, that is not what it's about.
That's just abuse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I just wanted to interject that point.
The people color, it's a little different, a little jazzy.
Yes. Okay.
Basically just how to become more open to those activities. Again, for me, it fundamentally always goes back to being diligent about unlearning what society has taught you about these things. So again, once you understand that the game is rigged and that the rules are bullshit, that means that you don't have to subject yourself to following them anymore. So that actually leads you open to exploring things. You basically just giving yourself permission to go and look into whatever you want and to go on that journey of self-discovery of what you like. And since we're getting into kink and BDSM and all that stuff. Now I'm a submissive, a rope bunny, and I had 2 dominants who were also my paramours. A rope bunny is someone who likes to be tied up, you know, shibari, exactly. Shibari, rope submission, being put up. Sometimes it's more about, sometimes it's very nice, intricate rope ties and stuff. Other times it's being suspended in the air via rope. And you're basically like a canvas for the rigger who's doing all this stuff and tying you up and whatnot. And, and because I've allowed myself to explore, I understand why, because as a Black woman, I am always having to be in control of everything, be on top of everything, oh, I gotta go, I gotta go to work. I gotta do this. I gotta take care of this. I gotta be on top of this. I gotta be on top of that. But once my, ex-paramours now, but once my dominance had gotten me in that position and I'm tied up on a bed, or, we actually went to a subspace once and they got me on the floor and was tying me up and, maintaining contact, making sure I was okay and everything. Oh, baby, to be able to just let basically feel like you're floating. Basically, after, if you had actual genuine orgasms, that's kind of what subspace is.
Maybe a little deeper.
I wanted
to get a little deep, but
but
also, yes, like I said, it's basically once you let go and unlearn the bad stuff, you're open to the good stuff. Put yourself out there, figure out what you like. Everyone's recommended FetLife. It is a great place. There's always events going on. You can figure out all the different type of things you like. There's books out there. Once I started on my journey, one of the first books I acquired was How to Be Kinky by Morpheus. And there's a sequel to that, How to Be Kinkier. And then, once that happened, I started really my queerness, being a bisexual woman. So then I got more books into that, learning more about myself, my body, how to pleasure myself, how to pleasure women, She Comes First. That's a good book I recommend. How to give erotic massages, sensual massages to everybody, things like that. Again, so many things open up for you once you unlearn the dogma that's forced on you. Absolutely.
To that, quick and simple too, I think it's liberating too, for me personally, buying lingerie, getting sexy, buying perfume. Like, I feel like too, it's not always about the sexual practice versus feeling sexy and having ownership and feeling like that bitch. You know what I mean? Putting on that perfume, putting on that lingerie, getting a new wig, getting a new weave, doing things that make me feel good. Engage before I even engage in that. So sometimes it's getting yourself ready and, doing nice things for yourself. Baths. Yeah. Sometimes I go rent a hotel and go a flower bath and candles. Sex yourself real good. Yeah. Sex yourself good. Yes. I'm wearing. Yes. So it's okay to also explore without, it's not always about the sexual act versus just putting yourself in a space to adore yourself and to give yourself the love that maybe you sometimes you focus on giving somebody else. Let me please them. Let me do it. How the hell am I getting pleasure? Yeah. So yeah, on that. Yeah.
Like real quick, also, you're not you're not reinventing something here. Everyone has been down this road. Everyone. So if you walk up in a scene, someone will say, "Oh, I hear you. I've been there. This is what my experience was when I was there. Let me help you out. I'm open for questions." And just realize that. I know personally inside you may think no one has ever had this experience. No one. But surprise, we're human beings and a good chunk of us have. So think about that.
Okay. So that's going to conclude our panel. But before we open up for question and answer, I just want, if you can stand, Do a little quick little something, do a little affirmation. And that's fine too. And if you're right-handed, raise your right hand. If you're left-handed, raise your left. Put it on your, no, I'm just playing. If you're ambidextrous, raise both. These are my hands. Repeat after me. These are my hands. This is my body. And I promise with these hands or this hand to love and fuck the shit out of my body. It might not be today. It might not be tomorrow. But one day, we gonna have a hell of a party. All right, we are open for question and answers. Right. Bye-bye.
And no question is like, or taboo. No question. I want people to, this is an opportunity in any question.
I'll kick off the first question then.
Bria, with that affirmation you were giving, you and I might could have to go in on that megachurch idea that I want to do. We'll talk.
This kind of goes into when we have partners and how do we help, because the stigma does affect all of us. As Nadia talked about white supremacy and dominance and how it has impacted white people just as much. Sexual repression has impacted our male counterparts as well. So how do we help each other give a better understanding and overcome those indoctrinations, overcome those stigmas, and let them know that it is okay to be just as vulnerable with what they like, because when we are able to find what works for us, then we're able to mutually please our partners, whether it's just one or more, which there's nothing wrong with.
Right.
Did you just roll your eyes, Maddie, when you left?
Say,
You know, the thing that's this, oh man, again, what Nadia was saying, I think that this sexual oppression certainly hurts men more. I mean, you know, you got that wonderful prostate thing, but a man will not have a finger up their ass, even though that shit will send them to the moon. And so they would deny themselves that pleasure because one, that's even worse is that, oh, that's a gay. And it's like, that is so sad, you know? And so it hurts them. And then, of course, that turned around and hurt their partners. But yeah, I don't know. I think there needs to be have conversations outside of sex. You know, outside, like have conversation when you're sitting in the living room and you're watching Rick and Morty. You know, something like that to sort of get them in the space that they could talk about it in a scientific or in a way that's not pain driven or shame driven or fear driven. But yes, it hurts them more. And I think it's important for women, and we're talking about head here, but I think it's important for women to realize that if you, and this happens a lot, especially Black, okay, I love Bridget for that, to not shame them, to not put like, oh, that's not so, you're not a man, don't do that.
I'm sorry. I'm a quick and sweet. So it made me think about, even in Black and brown communities, how sexual oppression sometimes even starts within the family, with grandma touching grandma, touching kids, touching. So when we think about oppression, sometimes it starts in the household with the families, right? So dialogue, conversation, education, pushing them into, you know, classes, anger management, learning how to not be sexually angry, and then you taking it out on somebody because you're not accepted, right? So it gets deep. But again, dialogue, conversation, education.
I'll just add on to that yes, conversation is definitely important because they're not only operating off of sexism and sexist thinking. There may also be trauma there from sexual abuse, and that may not, and sometimes that not only plays a role in the types of in how they may and may not like sex, but also the types of kinks they may or may not have when they find that there's that side to themselves as well. So there definitely has to be conversations there. There has to be an establishment of vulnerability and emotional availability. Like, honey, we know the game is rigged. We know it's bullshit. You don't have to abide by these, but there are no rules for compulsory manhood or womanhood. So, things like, if you want me to peg you, it's fine. You will not lose your manhood for that, because again, it's bullshit. So it's not, AKA for all the skeptics, it's not based on anything factual or empirical.
Right.
So it's rhetoric, it's propaganda to police people's sexual behavior. So again, it's bullshit. You don't have to follow it anymore, and then build and take it from there.
Okay, real quick before Cynthia speaks, this is why it's imperative to have these conversations before you decide to, or like Mandisa brought up, like when you're in a relationship, before you decide to become exclusive, or you guys decide before the first time you have a sexual encounter, because the worst thing you want to do is be mismatched with someone who is sexually incompatible to you. Right. Now you done married this person. Now you got a house, you got 12 damn kids, and you are sexually goddamn, and you ain't and you're sexually frustrated. It's important to have this dialogue. I mean,
there's ways around that. I mean, sit on, they may have a good tongue.
Cynthia ask her question.
You're totally, but you're totally in my lane right now is basically what you're saying, great panel, by the way. This is like a follow-up question, specifically having conversations with partners. Is there additional tools? Because depending on the person, and you're wanting to have like a very succinct conversation about sex, sexuality, what you want, how you may not necessarily feel satisfied, and what you're going to do about it, or can we work on this? But it's sometimes when you're talking to your partner, it doesn't always sink in, right? Mm-hmm. So is there like additional tools that could possibly be used to help one to actually have these conversations? Yes, that was my question.
So I've been thinking about this all weekend and on my way over here, and I could be wrong, but I do have yet to find literature or like a book that is just straight up about sex positivity and how to inject it into all these areas in your life, including sex and relationships. So I haven't found it yet. So that may be a sign that someone has to write it, and it may be me. So there's not. So sometimes what ends up happening, you end up having to pick and choose patches from things from here, like you may have to take a little bit from Audre Lorde, you may have to take a little bit from Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks has written some books about, about love and what it means once you go on that feminist road of cultivating and building love and relationships and things like that. And then you may have to, go to the bookstore and find those books and go and find the sex books on pleasure and kink and stuff like that. And what they all stress is, communication, making sure that mutual consent is always there, mutual respect, mutual empathy, things like that. So it's you kind of got to do some research and a patchwork from a lot of different sources for now.
And sex therapist is a thing.
Yes, and
it's a thing, and because everybody don't want to read, everybody don't want to hear. Honey, I read this in a book. Yeah. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But and you can have this online. People are virtual. They want to, that's their life, virtual. So you can have a counseling session virtually together, and it's very sensitive. They're very empathetic, and they're objective. So seeking the counsel of a sex therapist has done wonders for couples and partners.
I was gonna say too, real quick, if you're not a reader, if you're not into therapy, put on some candles, go do role play. Hey, we're going to the bar tonight, babe. I'm about to dress up high. We try, like sometimes it's pushing yourself. Let's spice it up. Let's do something different. Let's go out. Choke me tonight. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out, because sometimes it's like, hey, you never know. Don't make sex boring. Boring sex is lame. You should be having better sex. So if you need to have conversations, sometimes it's like, let's go to the bar, let's get faded, and let's just see where it goes, and put ourselves in a different element in life, actually.
Also understand that, yes, sex is a thing like other things. You do have to practice and learn more things to get better at it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get on my soapbox just for a second. I hope you might have just, so it's more of a comment than a question, but I'm very inspired by all of you, and like, just wow. And, you know,
I would like to go on, but I just, thank you.
So I'll add on that real quick, you know, because again, we say education is very important, and it is. So for those of you who may live in those counties, in those states where you see that there is a fight going on between having factual sexual education from the elementary school level, if you're invested in and access to, well, yeah, of course, because the thing is now, because with what they want to pass, like in Rhode Island, the senator from there, Tiana Mack, the one who was given hell because she made a TikTok of herself twerking on the beach saying, vote for me. And meanwhile, I'm like, yes, girl, if I were in Rhode Island, I'd do it, you know. But she used to be a sex ed educator and a teacher. So she knows that giving kids these resources, especially since they most feel that they can't get it from home, parents don't know and don't know everything, and they're also afraid to talk about it. Please get involved in these fights so that our kids can get the education and the resources and the support that they need, because they need to know. I mean, they already know they're touching themselves from when they're babies. So they already know, and they're already fucking. So just arm them so that they do it right and consensually. Okay, the end. Sorry.
I just wanted to say, I already knew you was free, baby, because I watched your ass all over that goddamn dance floor. Watch you on that dance floor, so I already knew what time
like it's hot.
Okay, you and your daughter was doing the damn thing.
Yeah, I was like, wow, you, your daughter, Sam, y'all with the shit.
Phenomenal, because baby, you was just pure freedom, joy, and liberation on that goddamn dance floor. I was like, look at this motherfucker do her thing. My God, and motherfucker is a compliment. Okay, like goddamn.
And don't worry, like Bernie Mac said, is now.
Yeah, like y'all did that damn. Y'all brought a lot of joy and light. So thank you so much. No, baby, we was in the presence of you because we were all watching you. So it was amazing.
Okay, it's time. It's time. One thing too: support Planned Parenthood, support UCLA, support any reproductive rights, support the Avia Center. We need factual sex ed education in schools. Fight for sex ed for our kids.